Hey everybody, so today I am here to do the long-awaited Lansinoh Signature Pro Double Electric Breast Pump review for you guys. Now I have a video up on my channel talking about all the kind of different things I'd be looking into and how I was going to judge the pump, so I will have that video listed down below. I also mention a couple different things that you may want to look into when buying a pump, what makes it efficient, and different stuff like that. I also did want to mention that I am not going to be reviewing any other breast pump to the Lansinoh Signature Pro. This is going to strictly be a review just for it, as I've mentioned in my previous reviews. Also, I won't be critiquing it on comfort as usual, just because, as I've always said, comfort is a very personal thing. It's going to vary from person to person, so I don't feel like that's something that a pump can be judged on other than a personal standpoint. I'm going to give you guys a quick look at the pump, then I'm going to go over the different points I was judging it on, then I'm going to go over what it looks like when it's turned on, have a kind of in detail look at it, and then at the very end I'll share my thoughts and opinions with you guys. So if you're unfamiliar with what this Signature Pro looks like, this is the actual pump itself, and then this is obviously what you use, what goes on your boob. I looked at price, function, ease of use, recommendations or reviews, portability and power options, accessibility to replacement or spare parts, customer service, durability, and noise level. So I'm going to go ahead and get started on those. As far as price goes, this is the older model, and this is something I did want to throw in the beginning of the video, but I totally forgot until right now. They just came out with a smart pump. This is the older version, so now that there is a newer version, it's going to be cheaper, which this pump was already at a really great deal if you ask me. I've seen some people pick it up at Target in a clearance section for like 80 bucks, and then I've seen other people at Babies R Us and they find it for about like $120. So it really just kind of depends, but the normal retail for this pump is $149.99. So as for the function and the ease of use, I find that this pump is super easy to use, but it's also very customizable. So as for recommendations and reviews, it gets about 3.5 stars on average online, and I feel like that's pretty true to word of mouth as well. It's kind of hit or miss who you talk to, what review you're looking at. As for the portability options and the power options, it is very portable since it is a rather slim and very lightweight pump. And then as for the power options, it does come with a wall plug, which I did want to say the cord on this is super generous, which I enjoy. And then it does have a built-in battery pack on the bottom right here, and it does take 6 AA batteries, if I can ever get it off. There we go. So that's what it looks like. As for the accessibility to replacement or spare parts, it is very slim pickings when it comes to this pump. They only have 2 flange sizes that I know of that work with this pump. The flange size that it came with was a 25 milliliter, and they do have another size that is larger. But I did want to show you guys something that I came across in my usage of the pump. I found that Medela pump and style parts do fit this. I don't know about any other parts. These are the parts that I have the most of. So this is the Lansinoh little, I don't know what you want to call this part, the connector kind of. And this is a Medela pump and style 24 millimeter, and it fits in there. And it fits in there really well. I also did want to show the size that I wear, which is a 21 milliliter. Keep saying milliliter, it's millimeter. But this is the one that I use. So it is a little thicker. So you do kind of have to push it in, but it does fit nonetheless. I also did want to show the fact that MAM bottles do fit this as well. It does fit very well. As for the customer service of Lansinoh, I found that they're super quick to respond. One of the quickest customer service I've ever dealt with, and they're always excellent and answer any and all questions that I have. As for the durability, I've been using this since I came home from the hospital with Remy, and about 2 weeks in from that, I started using it as my daily pump. And what I mean is it sat out here in the living room, which I am in most of my day. I am a stay-at-home mom, so I have used it all throughout the day, consistently, every day. My daughter is now 4 months old. I have had my toddler knock this thing off my couch. I've had her drag it across the room. I've dropped it myself, and as for the durability, it's held up amazingly. Like I said, I put this thing through the ringer and it works perfectly. So I'm not sure that you could classify this under durability, but I'm not sure where else to throw it in at. But I did notice that after a little bit of usage, the buttons do start to wear off. So there is that. And then lastly, as for the noise level, it is a pretty quiet pump, but obviously the higher setting you have, the louder it's going to be. So I went ahead and plugged in the pump so I can show you guys what everything looks like. But this is an up close look at the pump. Over here, obviously, you have your tubing port. Over here, you have your wall adapter. Like I showed on the back, you do have your battery pack. And then up here, I just wanted to explain these buttons. This is obviously the power button. You can't really tell, but this is to decrease suction. This is to increase suction. This is the style in which you can pump, and I'll explain that here in a second. And then this is the let down button. And then for the tubing, it connects over there like I showed, but then it does have this little piece right in the middle that can make it a double pump. But if you don't want it to be, you just take off one side of the tubing, and then if you can see this little guy, you just fold it over, push it in here, and then you can single pump with it as well, which is what I do. So it does have the ability to be a single or double pump. So as for an up close look at your pump parts, this is what you get. You get a full set of this, and down here you just have a Lansinoh 5-ounce Momma bottle, like I mentioned, and then underneath there you have a duckbill valve, which I don't think Lansinoh technically calls these duckbills, but if you look them up on Amazon, that's widely what they're known in the pump world as duckbills. This is their Comfort Fit flange. If you can tell, this over here gives a little bit. I didn't think that this was going to make too much of a difference, but actually being large chested, I find that sometimes like my boob slips underneath the flange and it gets pinched. I don't experience this with this flange, so I think that might have something to do with it. Nonetheless, it is comfortable. And then up top is what makes it a closed system pump, which I will talk more about here in a second, but it does have this little piece that you just lay on top, and then there's where all the suction happens. So that is everything. And this lid just twists on like this and it locks into place so it doesn't pull off. So that is what your pump parts look like. And then you just take the hose and you put it on this back little piece right here, and then you're good to go. So I'm going to show you with the pump turned on. So as you can see, it does turn on to a preset setting, which I always turn it down because it's a little too much for me. So I normally start off around here. I don't know if you can see past that glare. But anyways, this is what I start off around. It does start off in the stimulation mode. So then you would just hit this button over here to get out of stimulation mode and into expression mode. And just like I mentioned, you can increase or you can decrease to be whatever you need. And then over here, what I had mentioned about the style is if you can listen to the pump, it'll kind of explain itself. You hear how that's becoming longer. This one is very short, and this one's about a medium. I really like that you can customize it, but it's still very easy to use. Also, as you can see, it does have a light up LCD screen, and it does have a timer on it, but I'm just gonna hold this up here for a couple of seconds, and you'll see that the screen does turn off after a few seconds, which I do enjoy, because a lot of the times I don't need the screen to stay on a whole bunch, and I do like that once it does turn off, like it did, when you hit a button, it turns automatically right back on. So that's pretty neat, and I do like that. Now, like I mentioned, you do get 2 whole pump part sets like this. You obviously get the tubing, you get the wall adapter, you get the pump, and then it also does come with a Momma nipple and a collar to fit that for your bottles, because that is the Momma bottle that was attached to it, like I said. You also get 2 of these flat caps, which I really like, and then you also do get a little tote bag right here, which is actually not little, it's actually a pretty good size. It's pretty generous for a pump that's as small as this one. And then it does come with its manual, and I just wanted to show you guys this page because it does explain that style mode a little bit more. And as you can see, the first setting's more frequent, becomes less frequent, and then it's very drawn out. So that is something to consider with it. I have, oh my, the lighting. There we go. Lighting went crazy for a second, but that is something to consider because I have not seen this on any other pump thus far that I have used. So I found that very interesting. I actually kind of stayed away from that button for the longest time. I did not know what it was. I didn't want to mess with it, but I will mention here in a second what I have come to love. So I do think that that's really nice. So a couple other things that I want to mention about the pump is it does have that 2-phase expression that I've mentioned in my previous videos about how it mimics baby's natural sucking pattern. At first it's very fast, frequent to stimulate milk, and then it becomes slower to draw milk out. And I really, really like that. As I mentioned in my last videos, it's very important to get a pump that has a good cycle rate on it so it can effectively draw out milk. And a nursing baby sucks 45 to 55 times a minute. The cycle rate on this is 37 to 95 times. So you're gonna have to be aware you can't really use it on the lowest setting, or it may not draw out all your milk, which I have personally experienced, and I'll talk more about at the end with my own opinions. But you want to be sure that you're using it effectively, because if you did stay at the lower range, you may not effectively draw it out. And as I mentioned before, it is a closed system pump, although it is intended to be a single user pump. So finally, to my personal thoughts and opinions, I'm just going to kind of go through my cons, my pros, and then just like my last thoughts, if you will. So as for my likes about the pump, I do like that it is very compact. As you can see, it is very slim. It's not too big. It's very lightweight. I'm sure if you put the batteries in it, it might weigh it down a bit, but still, it's, I don't know, I just have no complaints, and I feel like for the size of it, it does definitely pack a nice punch. I really love the customizable settings. That style mode, like I said, at first I was kind of afraid of it, I didn't understand, but I totally love it now. I've noticed in my pumping journeys that I do better if I can have a faster frequency for pumping, and that isn't always doable on all my pumps. So with this, I am able to get that faster cycle rate because I use the first style mode, and it's pretty frequent. I like that it's a closed system pump. Obviously, the more hygienic it could get, the better. And I do really like that it includes the battery pack. And as for the last thing that I really like about it is I like that the LCD screen is a light up, but it eventually turns off, because when I am pumping in the middle of the night, or if I just need to see what I'm doing and for some reason I don't have enough lights on, I can see what I'm doing, but it doesn't stay on. It's not annoying, and it turns on whenever I go to hit a button. It is also bright enough that when I do hit it in the dark, I can see the buttons, and I'm easily able to tell what I'm doing. As for the things that I don't like the fact that spare parts or replacement parts are super hard to find, especially as an exclusively pumping mom, that, you know, I may need to replace mine a little bit sooner than the average mom. So I don't really like that. And I also don't like the fact that only Momma bottles fit the pump. While I totally understand because they have a specific brand of bottle that I personally love and enjoy, I don't like the fact that there's not even an adapter you could buy to fit other bottles. If they did want people to use their own bottles, I totally get that, but they need to make storage bottles, because I pump more than this 5-ounce bottle. And the 5-ounce storage bottles are actually pretty cheap. I think I got a 4-pack for $10.99, which is pretty inexpensive compared to other brands. So I do like that, but I can't find any larger bottles to buy to fit this without having to buy Momma bottles, and it's expensive to buy a whole slew of those just to pump into and store. So I don't really enjoy that, although it hasn't been a super big deal breaker for me because I am able to fit the man bottles that I conveniently have because Remy eats out of them. The last thing that is just very minute, but still, it is the fact that the buttons rub off. I wish there was some kind of coating, or the buttons were made out of a different material, whatever it has to be, so that the buttons don't rub off. It's not that big of a deal for me because I know what button is what, but, you know, should someone ever have to get one secondhand, or I don't know, maybe you take a break from having kids for quite a few years and you bust this thing out, are you really going to remember what the buttons are? So you better keep a hold of the manual, that way it can help you out, but I really wish that it wasn't rubbing off. The top 2 buttons aren't too bad, but as you can see, my decrease and increase buttons are slowly fading away. So as for my final thoughts and opinions, I absolutely love this pump. I have never once pump on the highest setting that this pump has to offer, and I would not consider myself to be a sensitive person in the breast area, but I just feel like a lot of times I need more suction. I need the most something can offer, and I find that some things just don't even have enough for me. But with this, I don't even want to dream of the day I gotta crank this puppy all the way up. I have great suction all the time. It does have a relatively more natural feel to it. It's not super mechanical. It's not like, it doesn't feel like a pump sometimes. It does have a little bit more of a hum to it. It does feel better than some other pumps that I've tried. So I do really like that about it. I also think that the price point is very reasonable on it. I have said before in my pump reviews that I find it absolutely ridiculous when people will charge a ton of money for a pump, because you want to advocate breastfeeding, you want people to be successful. Sometimes that means pumping. So with that being said, I do enjoy the price point, especially now that you can get it even more discounted, and I plan on sticking with this bad boy for a very long time, as long as it will have me. I am very interested to try the Smart Pump, see how they compare to each other, see if it's any different. If it is the exact same pump, but it just comes with those extra added features, I'm not sure if you guys have seen it, but I feel like I'm going to be all over it because it sounds amazing. All in all, I think it's a great pump. I don't think that you can go wrong with it. That is everything that I have for this review of the Lansinoh Signature Pro Double Electric Breast Pump. I hope you guys enjoyed the video, and as always, thanks for watching.